Scott will be in when we do. Okay, I'd like to call to order the meeting for the Town of Ramapo Town Board. This is our September 17th meeting. It's 10 a.m. And I'd like to ask our clerk, Maureen Pihash, to call the roll, please.
Councilman Ullman? Here. Councilman Winters? Here. Councilwoman Charles? Councilman Friedman? Supervisor Silvarez?
Here. We have, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go. Yes.
Here.
Okay. I'd like to ask Councilman Ullman to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is police matters, so I'll turn it over to our Chief, Peter Brower. Chief?
Good morning, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. As customary, we usually talk about our statistics. As you know, we try to compare the same months of last year and this year. We'll talk about August of last year and compare it to August of this year. As you go down the columns, there's no real significant difference until you come down to the crime section. You notice in August of 2014, we had 12 burglaries, and this year we had 2, so that's a significant decrease. And then in the areas of larceny, the same type of decrease. We had 69 in 2014, and now we have 44 in 2015. And last month, the Commissioner for Police Affairs had asked us if we could separate our cell phones for one of using a cell phone and one of texting. I went to our IT people, I spoke to Bill Gravis, and we were able to do exactly what was requested. And if you see down there, we had a decrease in the amount of cell phone summonses that were issued from 37 in last year to 28 this year, and went up a little bit with the texting from 12 to 14. Basically, that will cover the statistics for the 2 months of each year, and I'm here to respond to any questions you may have. There was really not a significant difference other than those 2 areas of the crimes that we've talked about.
The only thing, the question I have, Chief, is I see the bus uniform tickets on school buses is down. I know you did a great program on educating bus drivers, both the public and private schools, and do you think that helps on that as well?
It could help, yes, Mr. Supervisor, but I think there's a little bit more work to be done in that area. And, of course, the school has started this year. We're going to certainly reinforce that educational policy that we established last year.
Okay. Any questions on the statistics? Okay.
The next area we'd like to talk about is our community events that we attended. The one was, and I'd like to recognize Councilwoman Brendel Charles with the Ecuadorian Parade. It's the 2nd annual parade. It was so well attended. It went on without a hitch. I would say there's upwards to 4,000 or 5,000 participants throughout the day. The parade starts at Ramapo High School, and it goes to through Hillcrest and winds up behind Hillcrest Firehouse to the Hillcrest Memorial Field. And there they have some entertainment, and I would say 4,000 to 5,000 folks enjoyed the day. It was a beautiful day, and it went seamlessly, and I would hope and encourage the board to sanction that again next year. I was so impressed. I was almost going to sing on the stage, but I held back. But if I still feel that euphoric mood, I might break into song next year. The other few issues I'd like to mention to you. We had some 5 missing people, young adults, actually teenagers, at Kakiak Park. Now, Kakiak Park is over on Route 202, and the Sheriff's Department really is the lead agency. It was about 10:30 at night, I believe it was a weekend night, and what had happened is 2 busloads of students went over there for all the benefits that that park provides. And as the dark fell, they separated from the group. We had the help of Herverum. We have the help of Hatsola. And quite candidly, I believe without their assistance, we wouldn't have found those students as quick as we did. And we all were a little concerned because it was approaching midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and we certainly didn't want them to be lost in the woods overnight. Although the weather is in our favor, certainly they could have been injured. It's quite a nature park there, and it's just like nature is. It's very rough terrain. So we want to recognize Herverum for their outstanding contribution to the success of that location, that find. While we're in that area, I'm sure the board's aware of a Mr. Jack Rosenberg. He was a fellow that was involved in the airplane crash. And I had the occasion to visit him at Hackensack Hospital. And he is recovering. I think he's going to have a long path to recover. He is home now convalescing, but at some time in the future, we may want to think about recognizing him for his volunteerism. He certainly volunteers in the community. He volunteers as a Air National Guard, and he's quite a guy. You may remember we recognized him at one of our police award ceremonies, probably about 3 or 4 years ago. He talked a young man who was possibly going to commit suicide off a roof of a house. So he's a very dedicated individual. I don't want to go mention all his injuries, but they are not life-threatening, but I think they might be life-changing until he gets all the support that he needs. So we may want to think about recognizing him sometime down in the future. We went to a couple of other villages. We talked to our villages about our police academy. The youth academy is starting this week, next week, September 24th. We encourage them to have any of their youth in their area that might have an interest to join. It's the first come, first serve. I don't have to talk about the success of that program that was established here about 20 years ago, much to the thanks of Mrs. Hunter and the board at that time. And we're trying to, although we don't have to recruit because we have enough, we try to let all the folks know about this opportunity. And coupled with that, we've told our village residents about the next police exam. It may appear premature because it's dated November 2016, but we wanted to let them know about an opportunity, and it is imperative that they score well on the exam. So we suggest to them if they start to prepare now, even an hour, hour and a half to 2 hours a week, when you add it up, they'll have 200 or 300 hours under their belt in preparation for the exam, which is the first step in the recruitment process. And if they don't score well, they will not be entertained. And I went out on a limb on this one, Mr. Supervisor, but I said historically, this board has demanded that they must be Ramapo residents. And I said I don't see any reason why that might be changed, so that when we talk about a number of applicants, it dwindles once you talk about you must be a town resident. So I try to encourage those who have an interest that don't be concerned about, well, maybe 3,500, 4,000 test takers. Well, by the time you filter it out, it might only be about 300 or 400 Ramapo residents, so that once you go from 3,500 to 4,000 to 350 to 400, it's a lot easier to swallow.
You know, Chief, on that point, and we do want to have the greater diversity always in our police department. We have incredible diversity in all the youth academy classes that we've had over the 20 years. I think we should go back, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years and look at who the kids were who are now grown-ups and really probably available to take the test, and remind them that in a year from now will be taken, and they can come in and get information as to what agendas and books to study, and remind people. Because we do tell, I know you speak at the graduation of the Youth Academy, and remind them that we're looking for them.
Right.
And you'd like them to be on our police force.
Absolutely.
So maybe, those kids this year will be too young, but the ones that are a little bit more mature now, we should be reminding them of this exam coming up November 16th of 16.
Well, it's November
November
of 2016, the date, I'm assuming it's
November
November.
of 2016.
Historically, it's been in that part of the year, November, maybe early December, but, and historically, it's every 4 years, which would mean it's 2016. And we've, that's an excellent suggestion. I'll see if we have addresses for those students. They certainly are, as we've learned, so interested, and their energy that they've participated in the program certainly will be good for this police department.
And the program that the Deputy Commissioner Hunter works so diligently on the intern program in the summertime.
Yes.
Where they're paid interns, and the older kids, obviously they are aware and
Yes.
are probably eager to take the test.
Yes.
Yeah.
If there's no other questions on these community events, there are just 2 or 3 other items that I'd like to talk about. I'd like to send 2 of my detectives to the homicide seminar. I believe it's in your packet.
Yes, in Albany, New York, on
Yes.
October 3rd.
Yes.
Okay, moved by Deputy Supervisor Hunter, Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. Good things, habits are hard to give up.
Thank you.
You did a great job as a Deputy Supervisor for so many years.
Thank you. The next item is I'd like to ask the board to pass a resolution to send 2 of my officers to a land navigation course. It's an excellent course. It's a similar course that Captain Wydell attended, and he came back and he thought it was an excellent educational program, and it will cost $600, and it will be taken out of our training budget.
Okay, and they'll be leaving tomorrow. Moved by
Yes.
Councilman Friedman, seconded by Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
All right, we're going to run through the...
2 other issues,
Okay, go ahead.
and real quick, they aren't on your thing, but I just like to remind the town board that the Montebello Village Day, Chestnut Village Day, will be this Sunday. It's around from 12 to 4 o'clock, as well as the Harmony Hall Festival up there in Sloatsburg, just about the same time. I think that ends around 6 o'clock. So if you have any interest, I just want to bring that to your attention. Other than that, Mr.
Okay.
Supervisor, I would like to go to executive session to discuss some issues whenever you feel is appropriate.
Okay, I think what we'll do is try to run through some more of the agenda, Michael, and...
Yeah, I think we have a relatively short agenda.
Okay, so let's do that. So I'll motion to accept the minutes for our special meeting, moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. Motion to accept the minutes for the regular meeting of August 20th, 2015, moved by Councilwoman Charles, second by Deputy Supervisor Withers. Item 3 on the agenda is the Town Attorney, Michael Klein.
The first 2 resolutions for your consideration involve approval of agreements. The first of these involve community development block grant for the county for the Ellis Parkway Road widening project.
Moved by Councilman Ullman, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
For the past few years, we've received a request from Walmart for police protection for crowd control during the holiday shopping season. We've received that request again, and this is for use of our police on November 26, 2015. But we're fully reimbursed for the cost of our police that are dedicated to that job. So that's the next resolution.
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. And that cost is not just their regular salary, it also includes their benefits. And
That's correct.
okay.
We have Dennis Lynch, who's going to address the board next with regard to the adoption of an ADA policy. He's prepared a draft policy for the board's review, and he's going to explain why we need this and summarize the content that's in the document before you.
Thank you, Town Attorney, Supervisor, members of the board. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm very proud to present to you a proposed ADA policy. The ADA policy was developed after considerable research. Essentially, what the policy is to provide for a provision to make certain that the town continues to comply and will comply in all issues regarding the ADA. I had the pleasure of meeting a primary mover this morning of that particular policy, and I will be the person that will be able to be contacted by anyone either within the town or without the town to make sure that we're ADA compliant on all issues. This brings the town into union with all leading employers and leading municipalities, and I know the town of Ramapo takes the lead at all times in that, and I'm very, very happy to be serving this capacity. I'm here for any questions the board may have.
Thank you. Any questions on the policy? No, I think you did a fantastic job, and we have the draft, and we'll be adopting the policy today. You know, if there are any other questions, it's fantastic. Thank you.
Feel free to
Dennis.
go. Thanks, Supervisor. Appreciate it.
Okay, motion to adopt the policy. Moved by Councilman Friedman, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
We have two tax assuring matters on the calendar this morning. The first of these is a partial exemption. This involves property at 5 Sunrise Drive in Muncie. This is for an 82% exemption. That's congregation for motion.
Okay. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. We're asking Scott Shadler to come in and give us a briefing on United Water. United Water, we had some major tax certs, and they worked it out and did a fantastic job, everyone involved. So Scott is going to come in and give us the details on that.
And we also have a letter which is distributed to you this morning from Paul Goldman, our special counsel on utility cases, and he details in the letter the reasons why he's recommending the adoption of this settlement proposal.
As we're waiting for the assessor, I just want to reiterate that 10 years ago, we put in a floor in the utilities with Orange and Rockland in our settlement that they couldn't depreciate their property below 20%. That came up just recently, and it expired, and they wanted that to be taken away. Working with Orange and Rockland, with utility companies, with the state, we were able to put in a 15% floor across the entire state of New York now. So it's fantastic. And Scott also was just up in Rochester working on the fiber optics case, where Verizon is interpreting the new state legislation that they don't have to pay outside of the right-of-ways for that infrastructure, and we are a party to that. I'm not sure if we put in an amicus brief or not, but we certainly are there, and Scott witnessed that as well. Could maybe give an update on that. But first, Scott, let's talk a little bit about the United Water.
Yes, we all received a memorandum from Mr. Goldman. Paul Goldman was our outside counsel who handles our utility litigation. After getting appraisals on a group of United Water properties, we were able to work out a settlement. The key here is we were able to work out a settlement on 5 parcels out of 35. So what we're doing is we're settling 5 properties, and United Water is going to drop the remaining parcels.
They're going to drop the other 30 parcels.
We
So they'll stay at the same tax level that they're at.
for the next 3 years,
Mhm.
which we feel is a significant achievement on this whole settlement. It's really minimal reductions on some of the parcels throughout the town, and this will freeze those assessments for a number of years going forward. We've asked this settlement to be in place to 2020. So therefore, we're not being in litigation with United Water until that date. And in the event that we have any new improvements, we worked out an agreement where we
So any increase in their inventory or any improvements on their existing facilities will then be taxed, or we'll be able to get that inventory? Oh, fantastic. It's a great, starting off with 35 properties in tax certiorari's and to come down to 5, which are minimal reductions, and 30 that are frozen, Scott, is a great achievement. It really is. All right, any questions? Okay, motion to accept this. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. And Scott, any update you want to give us on the fiber optic case?
No, the fiber optic case was heard in the Fourth Department in Rochester last week. We filed a brief, and we feel pretty confident that the council from that area, together with this brief that we filed, we consider to be successful in that.
Fantastic. Okay. We need any kind of change in state law or the language in anything? I know that electromagnetically transferred material, information is what they were relying on to get out of paying the fiber optics. Will this case settled, or will we still have to go back and rewrite the law?
The Winston Board actually sent a memorializing resolution to all our legislators requesting to change the language and justify the right. Even if this case is successful, it's extremely important that the language in the legislation is changed. We have been working with all our legislators. Senator Gaffey had meetings with us with the real property tax chair of the Assembly. We have language, we have bills that were sponsored, and we're hoping that this year that this bill will gain momentum, especially with the amount of cases that are pending throughout the state. So we're hoping that this case will be pushed forward and get signed into law in 2016.
Great. Any questions? Good job, Scott. Great job. Thank you. Okay, the next item on is the adoption of the finding addendum for the Patrick Farm, and so we'll have, come right up.
Mr. President.
Michael, go ahead.
In January of 2010, the town board, as lead agency in the Patrick Farm project, adopted a finding statement after an environmental impact study was done. The project has proceeded since then and has been involved in multi-years of litigation. We've now received a request by Tim Miller Associates, and Nolan is a member of that planning firm, for the town at this point in time to adopt a findings addendum. And she's going to explain to the board what she prepared and why she's asking the board to do that.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ann Kudik-Nola. I represent Tim Miller Associates. The Patrick Farm project, which I assume you're all very familiar with at this point, was originally proposed with 497 residential units and was designed at the time to provide absolutely no disturbance to any wetland or any wetland buffer area. Back in 2009, when the project was being reviewed, the Army Corps of Engineers, who's the authority on wetlands, rendered an opinion that a JD was not necessary at that time. However, during the course of the extensive review that's gone on, primarily based on comments from the Rockland County Drainage Agency, the applicant initiated the process to have the Army Corps actually go out and issue a JD, which a jurisdictional determination is known as a JD. The Army Corps issued their JD on December 4th, 2014, and they identified expanded wetland areas on the development site totaling 24.89 acres compared to the 18.45 acres identified during seeker, an increase of 6.44 acres. The applicant remains committed to having absolutely no disturbance to any wetland area or any wetland buffer area, so the project was modified to completely avoid all wetland areas compared to the seeker plan. This resulted in a reduction of 18 units, 2 single-family and 16 townhouse units compared to the seeker plan, so it's actually a reduction in the amount of dwelling units proposed. I have submitted a book that includes a map of the difference if you
We
are
received
so
that,
inclined.
yep, last week.
But there's a very large map at the back that, so you can tell what was added or what was subtracted. In the book, there's also a table which identifies the differences and documents, summarizes the reduction in impacts as a result of the reduction in units, including reductions in cut and fill, stormwater, traffic population, the need for community services, et cetera. It's a modest reduction. I mean, it's 18 units compared to 497, but it is in fact actually a reduction of impacts. Since there are no new impacts based on the jurisdictional determination, instead there's actually a reduction in units, the town's previous findings that came to a conclusion of no significant impact remain valid. What we have submitted here is a findings addendum, which is supplemental information that will then accompany those findings, and I've submitted a certification for the town to reapprove the findings as previously submitted.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. And
We also have Mr. Stallman, the town's planning consultant.
come right up, Mr. Stallman.
Address the board. He has been in discussions with Mr. Nola's office and submitted a recommendation to this board, which I believe each board member has.
Right, you should have a memo from
Yep.
us recommending the adoption of the findings addendum. Without being redundant, I agree with everything that the town attorney has just said and the representative from Tim Miller's office has just said. I could add that recently the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation was asked to relook at its jurisdictional determination, which it did, and then confirmed that it was in agreement with its original jurisdictional determination. So there's going to be no change to the determination by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation that it's in agreement with its original jurisdictional determination. I agree with everything that Ann just said. There's going to be a minimizing of environmental impacts and a lessening of environmental impacts. And when you have a change in circumstances, such as the new jurisdictional determination by the Army Corps of Engineers and/or a change in the project, which is resulting from the new jurisdictional determination from the Army Corps of Engineers, it's perfectly appropriate to adopt an addendum to the finding statement that you originally adopted in 2010. We've reviewed all of the documentation. We're in agreement with it. We believe it's accurate and appropriate, and we recommend that you adopt this findings addendum.
Okay, any questions? Yeah,
Mr.
Mike.
Stallman, just to clarify as well, the project, based on its recent modifications, is still subject to planning board approval, which will be subject to a public hearing before the planning board can take further action to adopt or reject that plan. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. And not only that, but every involved agency has to adopt its own finding statement. So the planning board, like you're adopting an addendum to your original finding statement from 2010, the planning board is going to have to do something similar to that and adopt its own findings addendum or finding statement before it can conceivably approve or reapprove the site plan and the subdivision.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, a motion to adopt the addendum. Moved by Councilwoman Charles and Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. The next item on the agenda is personnel. Linda?
Item 4A is a resolution to appoint Christopher Holo, maintenance supervisor grounds in the Parks and Rec Department, effective November 3rd, 2015.
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. Come on up, Chris, and give you a handshake. Chris has worked for our town for over 20 years, and is now will be taking over this supervisory position in the Parks Department. Fantastic. That's here. Chris Vogel is presently is a foreman in the Highway Department, and we're glad for this. And I think we're going to soon be having an appointment in the, for your job in the Highway Department. And my guess is that person sitting right next to you there, Mr. Van Dunk. And so we're excited about that, and we'll probably do that at the next meeting. The job has to be posted for now that there's a vacancy in the supervisory capacity, but I know Mr. Van Dunk has done a great job over at the Highway Department and will be a great foreman. And so we will do that at our next meeting once the posting period is up. Congratulations to both of you, really. And thank you. Okay, the next item is finance. Okay. Moved by? Do you want to address what that is, Michael? Or?
Yes, because we are such a large town with as many parcels as we have, we annually are engaged in tax surcharge proceedings. We vigorously defend those, and in preparation for the defense of those cases in Supreme Court, we obtained preliminary appraisals from a consultant that has been working with the town for many years. He's exhausted for this year the budget that was initially set. So to continue his services for the balance of the year, we need to
Literally doubling the price.
double it, and that will again come out of the monies that are earmarked in the town attorney's consulting line.
Has his fee gone up, or we're just utilizing it more hours?
It's just based on the number of cases that come in front of us each year. So it's not an increase in fee, it's an increase in number of cases that he's been asked to provide appraisals for.
Thanks. Moved by Councilman Ullman, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously.
5B would be the amendment of the 2015 budget, County Attorney's Office, purchase of replaceable equipment.
Okay, and what are you getting? Some.
It's actually changing money from one fund to another.
Gotcha.
To pay for a shredder.
Okay. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you, Nat. The next item is item number 6 on the agenda, purchasing. And our Director of Purchasing, Mona Montel.
Supervisor, now, one of you that is the extension of an agreement for purchase of motor oil, antifreeze, hydraulic oil, and transmission fluid. And you'll see that it's for Low Industries, and it's a extension of 1 year and 10 years.
Moved by Councilwoman Charles, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously.
Item 6A2 of the agenda is the acceptance of a bid for bituminous concrete furnished and applied. And we're asking you to accept bid of Tilcon, New York, as listed in your resolution.
Moved by Councilwoman Charles, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you. Next is general matters, is acceptance of the road widening at 477 West Central Avenue. Moved by Councilwoman Charles, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Next is the naming of streets on Viola Estates. Moved by Councilwoman Charles.
That's across from Rockville High School next to Temple Bethel. So the process is the developer will propose a name for the public street, but it's up to the town to approve it or rename it. So the suggestion here is Garden Terrace.
Moved by Councilman Ullman, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Item 7C, dedication, Hearthstone Village.
The town board previously approved, or the planning board previously approved the Hearthstone Village project before the town board as well for approvals. And as a condition of those approvals, the developer is required to develop deed to the town a parkland parcel as well as a sewer easement. They prepared the necessary documentations for deeding to the town, but subject to the town board accepting those dedications.
Moved by Councilman Ullman, seconded by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. The next item, 7D, does anybody have the calendar out as to when the holidays are in October?
We have a meeting scheduled for next week.
Yeah. So why don't we have our next meeting on October 15th, Thursday, October 15th? And then we'll keep our town board meeting for October 26th and October 28th. How's that sound? Good at the present time?
So we have to cancel two meetings.
Just the one meeting, the first one.
Scheduled for next week.
The first one in October, yeah.
And the last one is September.
We do have a meeting, a workshop meeting scheduled for September 30th.
Well, I think we have to do that just to can keep that meeting for for accepting the budget, I believe. We present the budget on the 30th, and so we just could only be, may be the only item on the agenda that day, but.
Although we do have one add-on for today, which I'll discuss in a moment, which is scheduling a public hearing. The board may want to do it that same day.
Okay.
So it's on the 30th?
Yes. 7 o'clock is, 7 o'clock is the scheduled time.
Is that all right? Okay. So we'll keep the meeting on the 30th. We'll keep the October 17th meeting, October 15th meeting, and also the October 26th and 28th meetings. Moved by Councilwoman Charles, second by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, Michael, you said you had another item on.
Mr. Stallman's office, as well as my office, received a request based out of an engineering firm, Leggett Bergiers, who are essentially hydrological engineers. And they indicated that there is an error in the aquifer and wellfield protection map, which is part of our aquifer and wellfield protection zone. This was reviewed by Mr. Stallman's office and reviewed by our DPW, and they acknowledge, based on the hydrological reports that were submitted by Leggett Bergiers, that there appears to be an error. And Mr. Stallman's office, as a consequence, has prepared an amended map.
Oh, good.
So that constitutes an amendment to a local law, which would be subject to this board's approval after a public hearing. So I have copies of that, which we were unable to distribute previously. So the purpose of today would be simply to schedule a public hearing to consider the adoption of an amendment to the map. So if the board wishes to do so, in the next meeting, which is time enough for a public notice, would be on the 30th, not the meeting after that, I believe is the 15th.
That's okay.
And Mr. Stallman is here. He will appear at the public hearing to discuss what his recommendation is, but that's the nature of.
Will you be available on the 30th? Yes. Okay. So why don't we do that on the 30th, and it will be the budget, and then we'll do the adoption of this. We also, I've met with the United Water, and we're going to be doing a joint study with them and with the sewer district on the water resources in the Torn Valley, and which really need to be looked at for augmentation of that aquifer as well. So just wanted to let you know that we're working on that. Okay, so we'll motion to have that public hearing at 7 o'clock on September 30th. Moved by Councilman Ullman, second by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay. Before we go into an executive session, because I think we're going to have an executive session with the police, this is a time for public participation. So anybody that would like to speak, please raise your hand. Mr. Romanowski, come right up.
It's Robert Romanowski, 183 Maple Avenue, Muncie. When I was here in March Supervisor St. Lawrence. I asked you about Keith Cernak from State Advisors, and you said that you were going to bring him in by the end of May to give a report to the board as to the work product of this here company. And it's now the end of September, and we still haven't seen Mr. Cernak yet. Does anyone know where he is? And I guess no one does know where he is. There's no response. And
This is your turn to speak in
again-
public participation. We don't answer questions in public participation. You know that. This is your time to get 3
When
minutes
do you
to
answer
put your
questions?
participation down.
And as a taxpayer, I believe you should be answering questions because you're paying this firm $72,000 a year, and we've seen exactly no work product from them. Doesn't this bother any members of the town board? Also, you just discussed that on September 30th, you're going to be presenting the budget. I want to make a suggestion for the budget, is that you remove state advisors from the 2016 Town of Ramapo budget. It would save the taxpayers $72,000 a year, and I don't know what they're needed for, as no one has ever been able to tell me any kind of work product. You said Mr. Cernak was going to be here. He's never shown up. Maybe we should file a missing persons report on him. I don't know. But I want to bring that to the attention of the board, and I want to suggest when you're doing the 2016 budget that you remove state advisors from the budget, as they've done absolutely nothing for the town as far as I can see. Thank you.
Okay. Who else would like to speak? Did you want to speak? Come right up.
Hi, my name is Zach Masters. I'm here as a representative of the Rockland Independent Living Center. Just wanted to stand up and thank the supervisor, the board, and the attorney's office for all the work they did in passing an ADA policy and appointing an ADA coordinator. It really goes a long way towards inclusion of all the citizens in the community, for civil rights and for awareness, letting people know that there's a place they can go and how to achieve results when they do have a significant issue. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in for that recognition. Thank you. Ms. Munoz, did you have your hand up? Did you? Okay. Mr. Dent?
Hold on a second. I'm in
Rudy Dent, 8 Red Oak Lane, New Hampstead, New York. This is the 6th time we've witnessed that ridiculous
Did you get his address?
routine where Mr. Supervisor, you being the police commissioner, are complicit in allowing the chief of police to walk out on these hearings, which is disrespectful to me, the town of Ramapo, and this board. But anyway, that aside, last time I spoke, I was promised that there'd be an answer as to the theft of $11 million from RCC, and has it been recovered? You have been asked this question several times. When are you going to answer that? Also, in respect to your answer to Bob Romanowski just now, when do you answer questions? I'd like to bring to your attention to the fact that, as I'm sure you know, you have indemnification insurance that covers your fiduciary obligations as long as you remain within those obligations. Now, if you step out of them, your indemnification insurance will let you know that you are on your own. I understand that you recently passed a law wherein if you are found to be outside of your fiduciaries, you will use my tax dollars to defend yourself against my concerns. This is something that is covered under the False Claims Act. It's a state and federal law that seeks treble damages, plus it gives the individual who brings it to the attention of that body 20 to 25% of whatever is recovered. I'm talking about an act that deals in the millions. We're all waiting now to see what the current FBI investigation is going to come up with. As I told you before, I was privy to hearing the names on the indictments that are to follow. We're all hoping and waiting to see that come to a good conclusion. There's so much to talk about here, and am I going to get an answer on the $11 million? Also, I'm happy to hear that the chief has said he's going to retire in 2 weeks. I'll be happy to hear that come true.
Thank
Also,
you, Mr. Dent. Thank you. Anyone else? Motion to close public participation? Councilman Ullman, second by Councilman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay, the motion to go into executive session by,
To discuss personnel matters and litigation.
okay, moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. The agenda that we want to vote on. One item is to make Northeast Savings Bank, a new bank, community bank in Hillcrest, one of our depositories for the town. Moved by Councilman Ullman, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. And the next is to make Terry Grosselfinger the chairman of the golf committee, and we will send a letter to Jim Reese's family thanking him for his service over the many decades, and to make Terry Grosselfinger the chairman of the golf committee. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilwoman Charles. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. And we're going to close today's meeting in memory of Guy Stead, a lieutenant who we just received word that passed away. So we are closing that today. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Charles, and seconded by Councilman Friedman, Ullman, and myself. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously.